Never told, the insane truth behind God's chosen ones, what he revealed at 3 a.m. In the stillness of the night, right at 3 a.m., something utterly mind-bending stirred the air. It wasn't the usual sound of a creaking house or rustling leaves outside, no, it was something far more sinister. A bright glow pulsed outside the window, lighting up the walls in an eerie shade of gold. This wasn't just a dream, it was as if the veil between reality and something divine had thinned. Mystic legends whispered of God's chosen ones, those who received messages directly from the heavens. But what if it was all true? What if tonight was the night someone dared to uncover the truth? As the clock ticked into that witching hour, Sarah sat frozen, her heart pounding like a drum. The strange lights outside danced, almost beckoning her to witness whatever was brewing in the world beyond her simple suburban existence. She swallowed a lump in her throat, tremors racing through her fingertips. Hadn't she heard the warnings? People spoke of the cursed hour, where whispers from the other side could tear at your very soul. A shadow darted past the glow, and everything in her screamed to flee, yet her curiosity pinned her to the spot. Then came the whispers. Soft and seductive like a strange melody, pulling at the strings of her heart. They spoke in a language she didn't understand but felt in her bones. She knew, deep down, that these were not mere sounds, they were messages. Words of warning? Could she be the one chosen tonight? The air was thick with suspense, her breaths shallow as she tuned into the unknown. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference, let's connect. Tension built as Sarah's body thrummed with anticipation and fear. The whispers became louder, each syllable like a needle threading through her heart. She grabbed her phone, its screen flickering, and steadied her trembling hands. What was she supposed to do with this power? Outside, the pulsating glow began to shift, casting twisted shadows, as if something was emerging. Her gaze burned forward, an irresistible draw anchoring her, creating a tightness in her chest. What truth lay hidden behind that light? As the heartbeats of the night echoed around her, she felt herself being pulled toward an unimaginable revelation. What could it be? Were there really secrets buried, waiting for the brave to seek them out? And if she took that step forward, would she be ready for what awaited her? The glow intensified, invading her space with a warmth that felt wrong, unnaturally inviting. Whispers seemed to morph, wrapping around Sarah like tendrils, making her heart race faster. Each heartbeat echoed with uncertainty, and she wondered if she was teetering on the edge of something monstrous. Her instincts screamed at her to retreat, but the magnetic pull from outside compassed her. What is happening? She murmured under her breath, the words trembling like the rest of her body. The light pulsated, strobing in sync with the mounting pressure in her chest. She felt revealed, an open book, as if whatever was out there knew every secret she buried deep. Then, a figure stepped into view, dimly illuminated by the golden haze. It was human-shaped, but something about it felt off, as if the very air around it warped reality, bending the familiar into the grotesque. A jolt of fear shot through her. For a fleeting moment, she considered bolting down the hallway, hiding under her blankets. But curiosity, that daring little spark, held her in place. What if this was the moment she'd been waiting for? Sarah, the voice glided toward her, melodic yet haunting. It caressed her name as though a lover might, but the chill in her spine told her that this was anything but sweet. Images flickered through her mind, people with shining eyes, cult-like gatherings, sacrifices whispered in the dark. She pushed those thoughts away, grounding herself in the moment. "What do you want?" she called out, her voice sharper than intended. But there was no danger in hesitation, not now. The figure paused, and the glow around it shifted, revealing a face, half hidden in shadow. Want? To share what you've sought, what you need to know. The words trailed like smoke, wrapping around Sarah's thoughts. She could almost feel the weight of revelation pressing down on her, and yet, fear squirmed within. What knowledge came from such darkness? Who are you? She challenged, clenching her fists to steady her nerves. The figure stepped closer, and Sarah felt adrenaline race through her veins. This was the moment. She would stand strong, no matter how surreal or sinister this experience turned out to be. A guided answered, the voice now infused with an urgency that made the room feel smaller. But I am no simple harbinger of light. I hold the key to your destiny, Sarah. To the chosen ones, both those who serve, and those who sacrifice. The last word hung in the air like a thunderclap, sending spasms of dread racing through her. Sacrifice? The echo of the banished souls haunted her thoughts, the memory of legends and horror. What do you mean? She pressed, needing to grasp the reality of the situation, desperate to tether herself to something solid. Every whisper you've heard leads you here, said the figure, now almost a silhouette in the shimmering glow. You are the last, Sarah. The chosen one of our kind. And the price is blood. Sarah's heart stopped. The weight of revelation crashed down, leaving her reeling. What burden had she unknowingly taken on? Could she trust this figure who stood before her, dripping with ominous promises? Just as she parted her lips to protest, the glow began to wane, pulling back like a tide signaling an end. The figure glanced over its shoulder, drawing back into the shadows. Make your choice, but remember this knowledge can save or damn. Choose wisely, chosen one. The lights flickered, and with a blink, it disappeared. Alone again, Sarah stood trembling, her mind racing at the unfolding truth. What had she stumbled into? And what was she really willing to sacrifice for the answers that awaited her? The night still stretched out before her, filled with fear, challenge, and an unknown fate. As the first light of dawn began to creep through the curtains, a chilling realization settled in her chest. This was just the beginning. The truth was waiting just beyond her grasp, but she could feel it moving closer, dark and undeniable. What was the cost of this truth? And as the sun rose, would Sarah be strong enough to face it? The morning light filtered through her bedroom window, but instead of warmth, it felt like a spotlight shining on her doubt. Sarah rubbed her eyes, trying to wipe away the remnants of the night's terror, but it clung to her like an unwelcome shroud. She hadn't just heard whispers, she had been marked. The figure's words echoed in her mind, relentless and haunting. Chosen one, she muttered to herself, shivering at the implications. Chosen for what? And who would pay the ultimate price? Would it be her? With a deep breath, she pushed herself out of bed, her legs unsteady as if the ground itself was shifting beneath her. The world felt wrong, colors too bright, sounds too sharp. The simple routine of the day ahead, a shower, breakfast, school, suddenly seemed trivial. She couldn't let this go unanswered. Downstairs, the scent of coffee filled the air, but all she could think about was the terrible revelation lying in wait. Her mother hummed softly in the kitchen, blissfully unaware of the battle that surged within Sarah. She quickly downed a glass of orange juice, her stomach churning with apprehension. Hey, sweetheart, you okay? Her mother asked, glancing over with a concerned look. You look a bit pale. Yeah, just a little tired, Sarah managed to say, forcing a smile. As her mother turned back to the stove, Sarah's mind raced. She needed help. She needed to know more about this chosen one business. There had to be someone who understood the darkness, someone who could guide her through this nightmare that had lost all sense of clarity. She grabbed her phone, her fingers trembling over the screen. There had to be clues lurking in the depths of the internet. As she typed, the words spilled out: chosen ones, sacrifice, blood rituals. Each term sent chills down her spine, images of shadowy figures dancing around her mind. She hit search and felt her heart gallop, but the search results left her dry. Websites filled with conspiracy theories, wild fantasies, and stories that danced on the edge of madness. Yet, something gnawed at her. A name became evident, a supposed expert in the paranormal, Dr. Helen Miles, a former scientist turned researcher, had dedicated her life to unearthing the truth behind cults and the supernatural. Could she be the answer to Sarah's turmoil? Taking a chance, Sarah dialed the number listed on her screen. With each ring, her anxiety grew. What would she say? Would she trust the words of a stranger? Hello? A voice broke through, steady and reassuring. Dr. Miles? Sarah forced a breath, her words tumbling out in a rush. I need to talk to you about something important. It's about the chosen ones. There was a pause on the other end, then a sharp intake of breath. I see. This isn't just curiosity, is it? You're involved. Yes. I think I might be. Sarah's voice trembled as she realized the weight of her admission. Meet me at the old library on Elm Street, Dr. Miles replied. It's vital you're discreet. Time is a factor, and the truth can be dangerous. Discreet? It felt like a heavy shroud of urgency had settled over her. As the call ended, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe she could uncover the truth, face the darkness. But as she stepped outside into the daylight, the shadows seemed to stretch longer, as if reaching for her. The weight of what lay ahead pressed upon her chest. The cost might not yet be clear, but she could sense the price would be high. What had she just walked into? As she made her way to the library, the whispers returned, more insistent than before. Were they beckoning her? Or warning her? A chill ran up her spine. Was truth really just a whisper away, or was there something far more sinister lurking in the depths? The library loomed ahead, its doors creaking in the gusty wind, and Sarah hesitated for a moment. What awaited her inside? What secrets would unravel, and what would she ultimately have to sacrifice to claim the knowledge that could reshape her world? She took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was just the beginning, but the deeper she went, the darker it seemed. And what if the answers led her to something she could never unsee? The heavy door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit interior that smelled of musty paper and dust. Shadows flickered across the walls, cast by the dim overhead lights. The sight sent a shiver down Sarah's spine. She stepped in, heart racing, and felt the weight of the library's silence envelop her. Rows of ancient books lined the walls, their spines cracked and some even missing. The shadows seemed to whisper secrets of their own, and for a moment, she wished she could turn back. Yet, the faint glimmer of hope pushed her forward. Dr. Miles had answers. She just had to find her. Sarah? A voice called from the far end of the room, pulling her from her thoughts. Dr. Helen Miles stood by a table cluttered with books and notes, her gray hair framing a face that held both wisdom and worry. Dr. Miles, Sarah replied, stepping closer, her legs feeling heavy with the gravity of what was unfolding. I'm here. Good. We don't have much time. Dr. Miles gestured for her to sit. Her tone was laced with urgency, and Sarah could feel every pulse of tension in the air. You've been marked, haven't you? The words crashed over Sarah like a wave, drowning her in fear and recognition. How do you know? The whispers, you're hearing them. Dr. Miles leaned in, her voice low and serious. You're not alone. There are many others like you, but something is changing. The chosen ones are becoming restless. The boundary between our world and theirs is thinning. What do you mean? Sarah's mind whirled. Was she really part of something bigger? Dr. Miles took a deep breath, her eyes locking onto Sarah's. It's more than just a title. You're part of a lineage and ancient duty that comes with great peril. The sacrifice. She paused, biting her lower lip as if weighing her words. The sacrifice must be made to keep the darkness at bay. The chill went through Sarah again, not only from the fear but from a sense of undeniable truth. What sacrifice? Dr. Miles shook her head slightly, the tension in her brow deepening. That's the problem. It varies for each chosen one. Some give just a part of themselves. Others far more. A lump formed in Sarah's throat. The weight of those words buried deeper into her chest. What if I refuse? A shadow seemed to flicker behind Dr. Miles, and Sarah's breath caught. The air grew strained as if the very library was holding its breath. You can't refuse this. The darkness will take what it wants. It's best to be prepared. And if I don't know what that is? Sarah pressed, her voice trembling. Dr. Miles's expression hardened, her lips pressing into a firm line. Then you risk losing control over your own fate. There's a ritual we can conduct. Before she could continue, an ominous crash echoed through the library, causing both women to jump. Books tumbled from a shelf in a chaotic flurry, and dust filled the air. A chill enveloped Sarah as the whispers grew louder, more distinct. Leave now. Dr. Miles rose, her eyes wide. We need to go. They know you're here. What? Who? Sarah's heart raced, panic clawing at her insides. Dr. Miles grabbed her arm. The ones who seek to reclaim the chosen. As they dashed towards the door, shadows danced around them, taunting, echoing ancient laughter. It felt like the very foundation of the library was shifting, a tremor in its bones. Just as they stepped outside, a figure emerged from the depth of the library, a silhouette that seemed to blend with the darkness itself, a sharp knife of fear slicing through Sarah. Return what's ours, chosen one. The figure hissed, its voice melding with the whispers. The night had just begun, and already Sarah felt the tug of her destiny. What did they want from her? And how far would she go to stand against the darkness? As the shadows crept closer, she knew she needed answers, and she needed them fast. Time was running out. The figure loomed closer, its presence wrapping Sarah in a thick, suffocating terror. Heart pounding, she stumbled back, pulling Dr. Miles with her. The whispers intensified, thrumming in her ears like a war drum, drowning out her thoughts. Run! Dr. Miles shouted, her grip tightening around Sarah's arm as they sprinted down the stairs, hearts racing, breaths ragged. The eerie lights flickered above them, casting the shadows into twisted, monstrous shapes. Something was behind them. Sarah could feel it, hot on their heels as they dashed into the cold night air. She could hear a low growl, a sound that was almost human yet unfathomably dark. Panic took root in her chest, twisting like a knife. She wanted to scream, to cry out, but fear glued her tongue down. They didn't stop running until they reached a nearby alley, a narrow escape shrouded in darkness. Battling the cold air, Sarah glanced back, half expecting to see the figure emerging from the library, its hunger palpable. But the shadows remained still, swirling ominously yet not pursuing them further. Are we safe? Sarah gasped, trying to catch her breath. For now, Dr. Miles said, her eyes scanning the alley as if watching for a ghost. But we need to talk. In the light. Sarah's mind churned. Light? Was that really the answer? Why do they want me? She demanded, feeling the weight of the question crash down on her like a tidal wave. What do they mean by chosen? You're a vessel, Sarah. Dr. Miles's voice trembled slightly. A beacon for both light and darkness. Your very existence pulls at forces beyond our comprehension, forces that want to take control. The alley felt claustrophobic, and Sarah pressed against the cold, coarse brick wall, trying to process what Dr. Miles was saying. But why me? I'm just me. Dr. Miles stepped closer, her eyes locking onto Sarah's. No. You're part of a legacy, a bloodline that has protected the world from chaos for centuries. And with it, there's power, connection to the forgotten ones. That's what they want. They want to exploit your potential. Sarah shook her head, tangled in disbelief and newfound panic. How can I possibly be one of them? I don't even know what I'm supposed to do. Dr. Miles nodded, sympathy etched in her features. That's why I'm here. I can help you. But it won't be easy. We must prepare for the ritual. It will help you unlock your abilities. Ritual? What if it goes wrong? Sarah asked, her voice cracking. The thought made her stomach twist. It can, but I'll be there with you. We'll guide your path. Dr. Miles reassured her, though her voice now carried a hint of uncertainty. Just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, a gust of wind howled through the alley, wrapping them both in an icy embrace. The whispers returned, filling the air with urgency. Found you. Chosen. The tone had shifted, no longer mere echoes but a cacophony that froze the very air around them. Sarah's heart raced. The chill deepened, and she felt the weight of unseen eyes watching them, waiting. Dr. Miles. We need to inside. Now. Dr. Miles pulled Sarah into a small, dimly lit coffee shop just off the alley. The door slammed shut behind them, cutting off the night's cold grip. They stood huddled in the corner, breaths misting in the frigid air. Sarah looked around, recognition dawning as her gaze fell upon the patrons. They stared, some with pity, others with fear, and a few with something far darker. What's happening? Sarah whispered, the shadows in the shop not quite matching the corners, as if alive. Dr. Miles leaned in close, urgency flashing in her eyes. They're aware of you, Sarah. The chosen one is no secret anymore. The hunt has started. A loud crash echoed from the back of the shop, and the lights flickered ominously. Get ready, Dr. Miles warned, gripping Sarah's arm. We're not alone. What lay in wait for them, and would they have the strength to face it? The sense of impending doom brewed around them like a storm cloud ready to burst. Sarah's pulse quickened. They were running out of time, and the darkness was closing in. The crash sounded like thunder breaking before a storm. Sarah's heart raced as Dr. Miles pulled her closer, their breaths mingling in the chilly air. Shadows danced across the walls, flickering with the dim light as patrons huddled nervously in their seats. Whispers cascaded around them, a mix of fear and urgent discussions about what they might have unleashed. Stay behind me, Dr. Miles instructed, eyes darting toward the back of the shop where the noise emanated. She was all business now, a fierce protector more than a mentor. The tremor in her voice hinted at the danger lurking outside their fragile refuge. Sarah's mind spun. She thought of what Dr. Miles had said, about being chosen. What if this was a trap? Were they leading something straight to her? The thoughts coiled in her stomach like a poisonous snake. Panic clawed at her throat as she fought back the urge to scream. A figure appeared at the entrance, silhouetted against the dim light, a shape that sent a jolt of recognition through Sarah. It's them. She gasped, her voice barely a whisper. The figure moved into the light, eyes shining with predatory glints, lips curling in a knowing smile that twisted her gut. Cassandra, Dr. Miles hissed as the woman stepped into the coffee shop. I knew it couldn't be easy for you, Sarah, Cassandra said, amusement lacing her voice. Did you think you could hide? Did you think you could escape your destiny? Dr. Miles stepped forward, protective instinct surging through her. Leave her alone, Cassandra. This isn't a game. Oh, but it is. Cassandra leaned against the counter, her dark hair cascading like a veil. You have no idea how much power she holds. It's deliciously intoxicating to watch this chaos, this fear. Something within Sarah snapped. She hurled herself between Dr. Miles and Cassandra, distrust bubbling to the surface. What do you want from me? Cassandra's smile widened. What everyone wants, dear. Control. And you, my sweet, are the key, she cooed, taking a step closer. Dr. Miles interjected sharply, her voice rising. You have no claim over her. The ritual isn't yours to command. At those words, a dark wind rushed through the shop, extinguishing the few flickering lights. The patrons screamed, their faces contorted in terror. Shadows thickened, swirling with a life of their own, whispering her name as they reached for Sarah. Sarah. Sarah chosen. The voices intertwined, growing louder and more desperate, clawing at the corners of her mind. Get away from her. Dr. Miles shouted, panic igniting her movements as she shielded Sarah with her body. Panic settled deeper into Sarah's chest as fear overwhelmed her senses. The lights bobbed back to life and she caught sight of a dark figure slipping through the door behind Cassandra, a hulking shape that seemed to absorb the light into its form. It wore the shadows like a cloak, dreadful and hungry. Sarah, focus. Remember the breathing technique. You have to. Before Dr. Miles could finish, the dark figure lunged forward. Time slowed as Sarah felt a fierce pulse race through her veins, her heart thumping violently. Was this the power Dr. Miles had spoken of? Or was this darkness simply a part of the legacy she never wanted? Now! Dr. Miles urged, desperation creeping into her tone. The overwhelming influx of energy within Sarah ignited a fierce desire to fight back. She felt the shadows recoil as she thrust her hand outward, channeling all her fear and anger. What would happen next? Would it be salvation or destruction? The darkness twisted around her, shadowy tendrils reaching out like fingers seeking their prey. Just beyond the door, Cassandra laughed, a chilling sound that cut through the tension, sharpened the air like ice. You can't run from your fate, sweet Sarah. Remember, the night is just beginning. As the darkness threatened to engulf them both, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her, as if the very world was in flux. There was no turning back now. What power lay dormant within her, and could she summon it in time to save them? The shadows were alive with danger, crashing around her, waiting for a moment of weakness. The weight of her legacy hung heavy in the air. Then, piercing through the chaos, came the unyielding question: could darkness become her greatest ally, or would it consume her entirely? The shadows lunged, swirling like a tempest as Sarah stood frozen, her breath trapped in her chest. Something within her stirred, a force that demanded to be unleashed. In that moment, she recalled Dr. Miles' words: focus. Breathe. The air felt electric, crackling with anticipation, and with a trembling breath, she let the chaos wash over her. Channel it. She heard Dr. Miles shout, her voice breaking through the clamor. You're stronger than this, Sarah. Strengthening her resolve, Sarah closed her eyes, drawing from every fear, every doubt, flipping them upside down into a fierce need to defend those she loved. The energy inside her surged, hot and radiant, and when she opened her eyes, they glimmered with a bright intensity that seemed to push back against the gloom. Get back! She screamed, thrusting her hand outward. A pulse shot from her fingertips, a wave of shimmering light that pushed back the shadows, sending them reeling. Sarah felt the power ripple, a thrilling shock racing through her veins, elevating her heartbeat to a manic drum. It was as if the universe split open, the very essence of light fighting the darkness engulfing her. Impossible! Cassandra hissed, her expression shifting from amusement to outrage. The dark figure behind her faltered, snarling, but it couldn't close the gap fast enough. The light illuminated the chaotic scene, revealing terrified patrons urged to the corners, eyes wide with a mix of horror and awe. Sarah! Dr. Miles urged, her voice resolute. You're tapping into it. Keep going. With determination burning bright, Sarah pushed forward, igniting the shadows around her with every ounce of power she could muster. The black tendrils writhed, recoiling like snakes frightened by fire. Cassandra's face twisted with fury, and the dark figure behind her roared, a sound that chilled the marrow in Sarah's bones. She felt a tether inside her, the connection to her true self. It was not merely about control. It was about standing her ground against the ghosts of legacy. She could feel her ancestors' presence, a chorus of warriors and protectors, urging her to reclaim her power. Let go of her! Sarah shouted, and the words echoed like a battle cry. The light intensifying, washing over everything in golden hues, illuminating parts of the shop that shadows had claimed. Cassandra took a step back, eyes narrowing in disbelief. You think this is enough? You're merely a flickering flame. But the flame within Sarah burned fiercely now, a roaring fire pushing back the encroaching dread. I'm not just a flame, I'm the inferno. In an explosion of energy, she released the power behind her declaration. The light erupted, forming a barrier around her and Dr. Miles, casting away the darkness that had threatened to consume them whole. Patrons erupted into gasps and murmurs, horrified yet strangely fascinated. Some dropped to their knees, pulled by an unseen force, recognizing the primordial battle that raged before them. Yet, amidst the commotion, Cassandra's laughter sliced through the hesitant silence, low and mocking. Oh, sweet Sarah, I see you found a spark. But you have no idea what lies at the end of this path, she said, glancing at the dark figure, which buckled for a second underneath the force of the light. This is just the beginning. Outnumbered but not outmatched, Sarah felt the weight of her legacy cradle her, rising like a tide. Yet, uncertainty gnawed at her insides. This was only a temporary victory. The shadows would not rest, nor would Cassandra relent. What is she talking about? Dr. Miles queried breathlessly, fear flickering in her eyes. I don't know, Sarah admitted, the resolve in her heart clashing with trepidation. The battle wasn't over, it was changing. Cassandra stepped back into the dark, smirking, mouth twisting in dark pleasure. You will understand soon enough. Just remember, the night has only just begun. And then, without warning, the world around them erupted into a cacophony of blaring sounds, as the coffee shop's door slammed shut behind Cassandra, sealing their fates. What lay ahead was the unknown, a path shrouded in shadows and intrigue, a destiny Sarah had not chosen but was now bound to face. The stakes had never been higher as she grasped her power, the questions multiplied. Could she hold on to it when the darkness threatened to take it all away? But now, she could sense the pull of something greater than fear. It beckoned her, a whisper in the depths of her spirit, urging her to uncover the truth. The darkness encircled them again, but she wouldn't falter this time. What horrors awaited them next? What truths would be unveiled when the night fell fully? The moment the door slammed shut, an unsettled unease rippled through the coffee shop. Patrons exchanged glances, wide-eyed and panicked, their breaths shallow as if the air had thickened. Sarah felt it too. The shadows, ever present, whispered of secrets yet untold, casting long fingers of dread. Stay close, Dr. Miles instructed, tightening her grip on Sarah's shoulder. We need to figure out what's happening. The lights dimmed, flickering like a broken heartbeat. Sarah's heart raced, her pulse drumming in her ears. She could feel the darkness coiling around them, its tendrils seeking to reclaim the light she had summoned. Where did she go? One customer shouted, desperation tinging their voice. Dr. Miles shook her head, a turbulent storm brewing behind her calm facade. Cassandra isn't just here for a simple confrontation. We need to be ready for anything. Sarah nodded but felt a creeping doubt settling in. She had pushed back the shadows, but they were far from finished. The power she had felt surged within her, but could she control it? Would it be enough? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the coffee shop. Glass shattered, and panic erupted as a towering figure emerged from the darkened corner. It was the figure associated with Cassandra, a mass of shadows and roiling darkness, its eyes gleaming like embers caught in a flame. Sarah, Dr. Miles whispered, urgency threading through her tone. This is it. You need to harness that light again. Swallowing hard, Sarah felt a lump in her throat. It was time to step back into the fray. Clenching her fists, she drew in a breath, letting the energy wash anew through her. She could feel her ancestors echoing from within, strength, courage, the weight of those who had come before. Get back! Sarah shouted once more, her voice steady as she thrust her hands forward. A golden hue erupted from her palms, bursting forth to meet the shadows. The collision sent shockwaves through the shop, illuminating the faces of onlookers who watched in rapt attention. Gasps filled the air, and a palpable tension rippled as the darkness fought back, unwilling to yield this time. No! The figure roared, advancing, a storm of swirling blackness. In the face of that fury, Sarah braced herself. The light shrank and flickered for an instant. Shadows clawed at her, threatening to consume her. "You will not take my light!" she shouted, drawing deeper, finding clarity amid chaos. She pushed through the fear, recalling Dr. Miles' teachings. Channel your ancestors. They live through you. The very essence of her being surged, the golden light blasting outward, forcing the shadows to retreat temporarily. Silence enveloped the shop, thick and suffocating, hanging like a curtain. But the moment was fleeting. Sarah could feel the strain. The darkness was still there, ever so patient, biding its time. Cassandra's voice slithered behind her like a cold breeze, raising the hairs on Sarah's neck. "Did you really think it would be that simple? The true challenge awaits in the depths of your spirit." Panic clawed at Sarah's mind. What did that mean? Could she maintain her power against a force that never seemed to tire? And what did Cassandra know that she didn't? As the dark figure began to reform, pulling back into its monstrous shape, Sarah's breath quickened. She fought hard, but this was just the beginning of a deeper struggle. Even as she stood, trembling but defiant, a sinking realization washed over her: this battle wasn't just hers. It was a war not just against shadows, but against everything they represented. Fear. Despair. Legacy. Dr. Miles caught her gaze, the weight of their predicament pressing down. "Sarah. Focus. There's something about the light, something you haven't tapped into yet." But what was it? Time blurred, and the shadows stretched, winding into her vision, just as she felt clarity approaching. A whisper from the dark echoed, sending shivers down her spine: "What if you're not meant to win?" The question hung heavily in the air, a dreadful weight. What lay ahead was darker than the shadows themselves. And for the first time, uncertainty coiled deeply within her. What truth waited beneath the surface? Would she uncover the core of her being before it was too late? The shadows twisted and churned as Sarah stood her ground, desperately searching for answers. The room had become a battleground, the air electric with tension, each heartbeat echoing in her ears like a war drum. "Sarah, think," Dr. Miles urged, her voice pulling Sarah back from the brink of despair. "You have power inside you, power that connects us all." "It doesn't feel like I'm winning," Sarah cried out, the golden light flickering dangerously. The darkness around her coiled and flared, mocking her weakness. The figure loomed closer, reshaping itself into grotesque forms reflecting her deepest fears. She saw her failures, her insecurities, a montage of every moment of doubt she had allowed to seep into her life, magnified and distorted by the dark energy. "You think you're strong," Cassandra's voice echoed, smooth like ice. "But you're just a child lost in a dark world. What can you do when the shadows remember every tear you've cried?" The words crashed against Sarah like a wave, and for a moment, her strength flickered. The customers in the shop were frozen, fear evident on their faces, their breaths shallow. They were witnesses, yes, but also hostages to her fate. What if Sarah failed? What horrors awaited them? Shaking her head, she focused. The warmth of her ancestors pulsed within her like a beacon, igniting a flame of hope against the encroaching dread. "No," she whispered, clenching her fists tighter. "I'm not alone." Suddenly, the golden glow intensified, almost blinding. She lifted her hands, channeling that fierce light towards the figure, bright enough to cast long shadows. But the figure laughed deep and resonant, its voice a cacophony of despair. "You think you can save them? You can't even save yourself." The light wavered, uncertainty gnawing at her core. Was it true? Doubts swirled like autumn leaves caught in a turbulent wind. But the faces of the people around her came into clear focus. They weren't just bystanders, they were her neighbors, her friends. "I need to do this for them," Sarah declared, finding a strength she didn't know she had. She summoned memories of laughter, of togetherness, of shared moments that defined her existence in this world. Refusing to relinquish her light, she poured herself into the energy surrounding her. "Look at your truth, Cassandra." She turned her scrutiny towards the looming figure as her light glowed fervently. "You thrive on fear. You don't understand what it means to love, to belong." The dark shapes recoiled, shifting and twisting as if in pain. The laughter faltered, replaced by a low growl. "Love? It's your weakness. It makes you blind to the inevitable." "I want to be blind," Sarah shouted, her voice like a clarion call. The light surged fiercely, filling the coffee shop like a cleansing fire. "Your time is over," she cried, sending a wave of brilliant illumination crashing toward the shadowy figure. But just as it collided, the darkness exploded outward, creating an enormous vortex that swallowed the cafe. People screamed, chairs toppled over as they stumbled back. Sarah clung to Dr. Miles. "What is happening?" Dr. Miles' face blanched, a cocktail of fear and determination swirling in her eyes. "She's trying to pull you in. You have to anchor yourself, focus on your purpose." But as the shadows whirled, Sarah felt her footing slipping. Suddenly, she was tumbling into a void, one that echoed her deepest thoughts, the dark fears once again inching closer. The sensation was suffocating, and Sarah gasped for breath. Chains of doubt tried to ensnare her, but she fought, clawing back for the light, for clarity, for reality. "Find your truth, Sarah." Dr. Miles' voice echoed from somewhere far above, but Cassandra's cold laughter echoed through the chaos, twisting the very essence of her being. "You're losing control, even your light draws its power from the darkness. I want to let you win." Sarah screamed, thrashing against the unseen forces. The shadows rolled over her, enveloping her in shrouds of despair. Yet as she fought back, a tiny flicker ignited within her heart. Was it enough? In the dizzying swirl, she focused on that light, distilling it down to its essence, a symbol of all she fought for. The faces of those she loved danced in her mind, each a reminder of hope and resilience, but would that hope be enough to break the darkness forever? As the void consumed her, she felt the edges of her identity fading. What awaited her there, in the heart of shadow and light? Would she even find her way back out? Amidst the chaos, Sarah's mind spun wildly as she felt the darkness wrap around her like a suffocating blanket. She was lost in a tempest of shadows, wavering between doubt and clarity, each second stretching into an eternity. The echoes of Cassandra's laughter haunted her, mingling with the cries of those she fought to protect. It felt like she was slipping away, like the very essence of who she was being siphoned into that abyss, piece by piece. But in that spiraling darkness, a fire flickered in Sarah's heart, blazing with the light of her purpose. Memories of laughter, friendship, and unity surged into focus. A warmth glowed at her core, igniting the remnants of her spirit. She remembered why she was fighting, the love she held for those around her, the connection that bridged their lives. It anchored her against the pulling darkness. "I want to be afraid," she shouted defiantly into the void. With that declaration, something shifted. The shadows quaked at her words, unwinding slightly as if they sensed the truth she held. The light within her began to swell, pushing back against the encroaching darkness, illuminating the swirling chaos with a radiant golden hue. It was this raw, undeterred light that glimmered brighter than the fear, streaking through the shadows like lightning cutting through a storm. "Find your truth." Dr. Miles' voice rang out again, piercing through the murky haze. Sarah clung to it, her focus homing in on her ultimate truth, the power within her, the legacy of those who had come before, and the bright spirit of humanity that thrived on love and courage. As Sarah stood firm against the darkness threatening to consume her, she visualized that light, that truth, spreading outward like ripples on water. The shadows recoiled, twisting in agony as they began to lose form, their sinister whispers fading. You are stronger than fear. You are the light that pushes back darkness. With every ounce of her being, she exhaled a mighty gust of strength, releasing her internal resolve. A blinding explosion of golden light ripped through the black void, illuminating the space around her, returning clarity. The shadows shrieked as they were engulfed, collapsing inward and siphoning into nothingness. The darkness fled, and suddenly, she felt the ground return beneath her feet as she tumbled back into reality, the scene around her shifting into the familiar warmth of the coffee shop. Dr. Miles stood before her, eyes wide with astonishment. Patrons trembled but no longer cowered, they were awash in the remaining glow. "Sarah!" Dr. Miles shouted, breaking through the shock. "You did it!" I pushed back, Sarah gasped, each breath shaky yet filled with newfound exhilaration. She blinked, processing the awe on the faces of those around her. They could breathe again. The weight of dread lifted, shadows dissolving into the echoes of the dark, but the thrill didn't last. Cassandra's chilling laugh echoed ominously from the corner, sending shivers through the crowded space. "Do you really think you've won? You've only scratched the surface, little chosen one," she sneered, her form shifting, flickering in and out of the shadows. "Enough!" Dr. Miles commanded, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. "Leave now, Cassandra. The darkness isn't yours to command anymore." Cassandra tilted her head, laughing again. This time it held a touch of begrudging respect. "We'll see, old friend. This fight is far from over. Darkness never truly dies." And just like that, she melted away, disappearing into the remaining whispers that danced in the corners of the coffee shop. As silence settled, Sarah turned to Dr. Miles, the reality of their triumph washing over her. The scars of the battle still clung to the air, but the destruction had been staved off, for now. "Did I really do it?" she asked, disbelief lacing her voice. Dr. Miles nodded, her face softening with pride. "You tapped into your light, Sarah. That power is within you, and it will grow stronger with every challenge you face. You're not just a chosen one. You're a force to be reckoned with." A wave of emotion washed over Sarah. Relief mingled joyously with gratitude. She glanced at the people around, the community she loved. They were standing together, united against the shadows that had once threatened them. "Thank you, all of you," she said, finding the courage to speak. "I couldn't have done it without you. It's our collective strength that pushes back the darkness." But then she felt the weight of Cassandra's words. She knew this wasn't the end, merely a pause. The darkness would return, hungry for chaos, for control. And as the sun began to rise outside, casting warm light through the windows, Sarah was filled with a resolute determination. She would prepare, learn, strengthen her connection to the legacy that flowed within her. Together with Dr. Miles and her loved ones, they would face whatever shadows dared approach again. With newfound purpose, she stood tall, heart racing in sync with the pulse of hope. "Let us get to work," she declared, ready to embrace her destiny. Now it was time to heal, to grow, and together, they would face the night whenever it returned. But this time, she wouldn't stand alone. If this story moved you, you need to subscribe now. Just one click and you won't miss future mind-bending tales. And smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep the stories coming your way. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Sarah's incredible journey. How do you think she'll confront future darkness? And please, you must share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support and let's build this community together. Don't wait even one more second.